It's Saturday. Your phone buzzes. Your card's been declined, not because you're broke, but because the bank is reviewing activity. You can't move money. You can't pay anyone. You can't fix it till Monday. So let me ask you something simple. If your money only works on banking hours, is it actually yours? I'm Oceans. This is Beyond Bitcoin. Let's go. Actually, this is a Citibank. It's not Beyond Bitcoin. Got to do something about that. For most people, the banking system feels boring and automatic. It happens in the background. You know, like all those crazy ChatGPT calculations that are somehow profiling me and selling my data so Amazon can sell me yet another wireless Super Nintendo controller. But I digress. You work, you get paid, you swipe a card, end of story. But the system behind the curtain only exists when things are calm. When pressure hits, political pressure or regulatory pressure, cultural pressure, the system reveals what it actually is. Banks don't exist to serve you. They exist to manage risk for themselves, obviously. And when you become the risk, access disappears. What's changed in the last few years isn't just the technology, it's the behavior. Banks stopped pretending they were utilities, and they started acting like enforcers. And this was no more apparent than the recent story of President Trump and his family being debanked overnight by JP Morgan. Take a look.
But debanking of President Trump and his business is a really broader issue. No one should be denied financial services due to their religious or political ideologies. I find it very sad that we're discussing this, ironically, on Martin Luther King Day, frankly, who was a civil rights leader. Why would JP Morgan all of a sudden decide that they no longer want President Trump's business? He had billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars with JP Morgan accounts, and he was given approximately 20 days, according to the president, to remove these funds due to, quote, compliance risk reasons. It's just simply too hard to believe. This wasn't the result of pressure from federal regulators. And we need to look into it. And it's not for President Trump. It's for anybody. You should not be accused or denied the right to bank based on what you vote, who you vote for, and what you believe.
Denied the right to bank. This matters because it sets precedent. If banks can deny service based on who you vote for, then money is no longer property, it's permission.
Not only was I debanked, so many people in this country were debanked, and every day, millions of people around the world are debanked for no reason whatsoever. I happened to be debanked because my father wore a hat that was red that said, "Make America Great Again." And I started getting letters. I got a letter from Capital One, effectively closing 300 of our corporate accounts. I got a letter from JP Morgan Chase, closing 52 of our corporate accounts. I got letters from Bank of America. These are the largest financial institutions on earth. Closing our accounts for no reason. These are golf courses. These are condominium associations. These are hotels. These are restaurants that we have in the portfolio. They didn't give a damn. They wanted to take the rails out from under us. They wanted to debank us. They wanted to deplatform us, and they wanted to hurt us. And I realized very quickly that the very same people who were coming after us, those banks were also going after people in cryptocurrency who just wanted to improve the system. Why is it that you can't send a wire transfer after 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon? Right? Now that makes complete sense to me as a business guy. Right? JP Morgan wants to hold your money, for 72 hours over the course of a weekend. They want to take the interest associated with tens and tens of billions of dollars that are sitting in purgatory. Is that fair to the average consumer? And by the way, is that financial freedom? You literally can't move your money for a 48 or 72 hour period of time. It's insane. It's asinine, right? And so, in cryptocurrency, you can move unlimited amounts of money for virtually zero fees, no middleman, none of these crazy exorbitant banking fees. At 11 o'clock on a Saturday, from your cell phone while having a glass of wine with your husband or your wife. Isn't that financial freedom? Isn't that modern finance?
I would say that is pretty modern finance. Notice what's missing from Eric Trump's story. He didn't commit a crime. They weren't found with fraudulent activity. And there wasn't any due process, just a blanket infrastructure removal, financially deplatformed. The bank's recent activities are showing us just what kind of powers they can express. And these are powers we never really thought about until now.
I mean, the big banks have been an absolute monopoly over our financial system for years. You and I have joked about it 1,000 times. Why can't you send a wire transfer past 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon? You know why? Because the big banks would love to take hundreds of billions of dollars and have it sit there and clip interest off of it over the course of a long weekend, as opposed to letting you just efficiently move that money using modern day technology, and have it in a separate wallet 2 seconds later. They want to be able to use their money. They want to be able to arbitrage their money. And so, the big banks are doing everything they can to stop some of the crypto legislation for obvious reasons. Why?
Now, this may be a reality for big-time names like the Trumps, but what happens when these forces start coming after me and you? And once you realize this, you start to see the absolute value proposition that is Bitcoin, a money that lives outside of the control of the banks and the government, a money that you yourself can own and protect. Banks don't stop moving money on weekends because of safety. They stop moving money on weekends because that delay is profitable. And this behind-the-scenes activity is no more apparent than what's going on with the Fed right now. Just take a look at this recent clip from David Malpass, former World Bank president who spoke on Squawk Box. Take a look.
Yeah, it's worrisome. You know, the Fed basically has become now just a giant hedge fund. It's lost $1 trillion, and counting. It's going to be a gigantic loss. What it does is borrows money at 5.4% from banks and then dumps it into government bonds. So think what that trade does. That causes the government to think that it's better off than it is. And so that encouraged the government to be short when rates were zero. So why did the government borrow so much in T-bills? Well, because the Fed was buying the bonds and it made it look like yields were going to stay low for remember the low for long phrase. So we've got these multiple problems that are going on, and it endangers the dollar. So that's the basic case.
If you're beginning to understand that there's something else going on behind the curtain, then you'll also understand why it's crucial to have access to communication outside of this system. And if you want to keep your communication lines open under any circumstances, then you need to check out sat123.com. Sat123.com makes it simple to keep in touch with your loved ones and stay connected even when you're off grid with their wide variety of satellite phones and survival gear. And for a limited time only, you can head down to sat123.com and use the promo code SIMPLY for 15% off your entire purchase. Bitcoin teaches us the importance of staying sovereign outside of our failing financial system, and with sat123.com, you can stay sovereign outside of your network as well. If the banks control access and the Fed controls liquidity, then there's really only one question left. Who actually owns the money? The BitcoinWay.com exists for one reason: to teach you how to take custody seriously, not price predictions, not hype, ownership. Learn self-custody the right way at thebitcoinway.com/Beyond Bitcoin for a free 30-minute consultation, because self-custody is really the only way, and that's thebitcoinway.com.
How do you pay your taxes? How do you pay your employees? This happened across the board. It happened with JP Morgan Chase. It happened with Bank of America. It happened with First Republic. And this wasn't just happening to the Trumps, people with a lot of zeros on the end. This was happening to conservatives all over the country. We didn't have a damn choice. So before my father, won the election, before my father was in office, we started getting into cryptocurrency. The people in cryptocurrency were being debanked just like Trump was being debanked.
Right.
And you know what? It's become the fastest growing industry anywhere in the world. It's actually removed a lot of the power from the big banks who have weaponized their platforms against the American people, and I could not be more proud to be here.
New systems like Bitcoin have to win. Why? Because they're better than paper, and because the old ones leave people no alternative.
I am a firm believer that it's going much, much higher from here. Think about corporate adoption. Corporate adoption is probably only about 2%. Central banks, only about 3%. Those are both going higher, much higher. Retail investors going much higher. So look at it through, I'll leave off with this. Look at it through the market cap of Bitcoin. That's around 2 trillion, let's say. Look at the market cap of gold. That's around 20 trillion. Maybe it doesn't have to be gold, but if it closes the gap to 50%, you're looking at $500,000 per Bitcoin. And I do think that in iShot, you're looking at 250, 350,000 pretty easily for crypto. There's a couple of things, a couple of hurdles, but I think those days of it losing 80% of its value and then rallying up are long gone. There's too many people that are looking for the asset.
That's
$500,000 per Bitcoin? Wait, that's only half of $1 million Bitcoin. That ain't bullish. Anyway, the writing is on the wall, folks. More and more talking heads, much smarter than myself, are appearing on Squawk Box, calling for all kinds of crazy Bitcoin prices in the near future. And like Cameron Diaz says,
that means something.
And if the old guard will keep freezing bank accounts and cutting people out of its system, then there might just be something to those predictions. The days of obscurity and people getting deplatformed with no one to consult with on the other end are coming to an end.
Two more things. The
Department of Commerce is going to start issuing its statistics on the blockchain because you are the crypto president, and we are going to put out GDP on the blockchain so people can use the blockchain for data distribution, and then we're going to make that available to the entire government so all of you can do it. We're just ironing out all the details so we can do it. Patents.
This is the tell. When institutions that resisted something for so long, like so long, so long, start adopting it quietly being a ChatGPT word right there, it's already game over. Bitcoin isn't just about the money, it's also about the people. ClubOrange, formerly the Orange Pill app, is where Bitcoiners actually talk, learn, and share ideas without the noise. No shadow bans, just signal. Download the app or visit ClubOrange today, and if you want to reach me directly, you can DM me there. I'm at Oshins, O-S-H-I-N-S, and I read all of my messages. I've been connecting with a lot of you folks on ClubOrange, so thank you all for your support and watching, and shout out to my man Martin over there. You are a legend, my friend. Thank you very much for connecting with me on ClubOrange. Here's the part no one likes to say out loud, except for me as I'm making this video. Most systems don't collapse all at once. They erode, they degrade, they rot. First, it's inconvenient, then it's conditional, and eventually it's permission-based. Banking didn't fail because it stopped working, it failed because it stopped being neutral. And once neutrality is gone, trust doesn't come back. Bitcoin isn't a protest, it's not a rebellion. It's what happens when people decide that money should behave like property again. And you actually don't need to believe anything I'm saying, you just need to pay attention to what people are doing. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you hit that like button below, or you can subscribe to the Simply Bitcoin channel for more content like this. We're coming out with it every single day of the week, or you can just leave us a comment if you like. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell. I'm Oshins. This is Beyond Bitcoin. Until next time.